up, everybody? Welcome to the first Sunday prep done live on YouTube. We'll see how this goes. Obviously, we're 5 minutes early right now, giving people time to come in, but we are going to get this kicking at 2 p.m. exactly. So, and I believe the chat should be live. I see. All right, it is. What's up, Sam? Now, 1 second. Can I make it so that I can see? Let's see if I can pop this chat out. There we go. Pop out the chat. So I can put it over here. All right. Let me get the link for this. All right, got the link. Gonna tweet real fast. And all right, the tweet is out. Pattern data. It's nice to have people in my corner. Thank you. Hopefully this is hopefully you guys like this, because this format, I think this format's actually going to be really beneficial for a few different reasons. Wonder if we'll get quite a bit of people watching, or if everybody's busy with Sunday football, but we'll find out. Can somebody in chat just let me know if the audio is good? Just since this is our first time doing it live this way, make sure everybody can hear it all right. That would be good. Awesome. What's up, D22? You have to let me know if the dad jokes come through. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Dun, dun, getting close. Countdown 2 minutes. I'm excited for tomorrow. It's been a good weekend. Had a lot of good things we all did as a family together this weekend, and I'm ready to attack the markets tomorrow. Good. Dad jokes are something that just happen. It's not like you plan them. Sometimes they just come flying out my mouth. And for people that don't have kids, they're probably like, dude, that is corny. And I don't care. The kids love them. That is the truth. What's up, Greg? Give it 1 more minute here, guys. Give people a chance to come in, and we're gonna follow the same format. It's gonna be basic intro, and then we will talk about the ideas the same kind of way we do on the pre-recorded ones. Oh, thanks, Beth. You're talking about the Insta one, right? All right, guys. It is game time. So, Ricky Analog here. I'm sure most of you know by now. With True Trader, this is our Sunday prep. It is our first time doing this live on YouTube. And as you can see, Movember is in full effect. We are halfway through. And I'm going to call this is being called this is my Ricky Fowler look. I don't know. That's the best way I can kind of describe this. Bad attempt at a mustache. So I wanted to touch on a few things. One of them being, I know last week I talked about mental health and the importance of like prioritizing it. And I wanted to just briefly, thank everybody for the kind DMs and comments and people reaching out. It means a lot, but I also want to make sure everybody understands one thing, and it's not that it's like I'm not constantly being like bombarded by depressing thoughts or anything like that. The reason I thought it was an important topic to talk about is because we all go through it, and the thing is that we don't know it. It happens subconsciously from the stress we put ourselves through our job. Trading it's just inherently stressful. Even when you do everything the correct way, and when you have systems, processes and systems that allow you to, take some of that pressure off, it's a lot of pressure. And so it's not something that you see happening or feel happening. And that's why it's so important to talk about it, because it's like the silent killer. You don't realize it's affecting you until it's probably too late, or, like in my case, I had no idea this was going on until like the doctors couldn't figure out why I was having certain physical issues. And then that was where they kind of changed their focus. And that was why I thought it was important to talk about, because you don't see it happening. And it's there. Especially, we are so used to this because we've been doing this, that the pressure, it just seems normal. It's part of the job. But it's a lot more pressure than many, many other occupations out there put you under. And so cool little story. A lot of you guys might not follow me on Instagram or watch the Instagram stories I do or whatever, but I had a really cool thing happen just recently that kind of ties in with that. And that was, I love golf, okay? And golf is a completely mental game, even though obviously there's the physical action and you have to have a good swing, you got to make good ball contact, but the mind-body connection is unbelievable, and it really shows in the game of golf. The same is true about trading, the mind-body connection, and the way it's such a mental game. And so, the last 2 times I went to the driving range, I hit the ball terrible. And I play decent golf, but I could not hit the ball to save my life. And I had just had both those days I had gone, I went after a shitty day of trading, meaning it was just a tough day. It doesn't necessarily mean it was red, maybe I was green or whatever, but it was just a really hard day of work, and my mind was not in the right place. And I went to hit golf balls as a way to kind of relieve stress. But it was almost like a compounding effect, because when you go and you can't hit the ball, it makes you even angrier. And so I went the other day after I got one of the coolest gifts ever, which was this customized golf bag with like the green Mario mushroom insignia and my signature. It was amazing. And so when I showed up at the driving range, I was in this mind state of complete 100% gratefulness, just extremely grateful. And I have never hit the golf ball so good in my life. Now, the only difference between those two situations was my mindset. Mindset is everything. And so in the morning, before you trade, make sure that you put yourself in the right mindset. Do whatever it takes to remember what you have to be grateful for. And, even the ability to be a trader is something to be grateful for. But you got to keep things on your desk. Like I have my kids, I have little notes everywhere. My kids bring me all kinds of stuff to put on my desk. Mental reminders of what it is that's important in life and all the things you have to be grateful for. Because if you can get in the right mindset before the market opens, you give yourself a better opportunity at executing your plan. And vice versa. If you cannot have the right mindset, hopefully you have enough mental or maturity to identify it and not trade that day, or at least not push really big size and put yourself in a bad situation. Mindset's everything, guys. And so I guess that's a good segue into make sure you guys check out methodandmindset.com. Actually, I have the ability to show things now. So here's methodandmindset.com, guys. You can see all these webinars that are over here. They're all free. Okay. So that is always there. It's always free. It goes hand in hand with the Method and Mindset episodes me and Kim Ann Curtin do on Instagram, but those are only every other Thursday, 5 p.m. market time, and that's on True Traders Instagram channel. Last Thursday's wasn't because Instagram was having issues, so that one was actually done on YouTube via Zoom, which was kind of a neat way to do it. We may use that format in the future, I'm not sure, but for the time being, it should still be on Instagram, I believe. So one of the things I would really want to talk about today is the importance of defining your system. So a lot of traders struggle, and I think what it boils down to is that they really don't have any sort of system. You ask them what they do, and they'll tell you like, oh, I buy breakouts, or I short small caps that are going parabolic. And when I hear a trader say that, to me, it tells me that they don't have an actual system. They just kind of like winging it. And I'm telling you right now, guys, winging it's not going to make you a career. You need to define your system. And when I say define your system, I mean every last part. You need to have, like, if you short or if you buy breakouts, let's say if you buy breakouts, you need to define what the best breakouts are. You need to define where stops go. You need to define where targets are. And they can't just be like arbitrary numbers, like I'll sell here and here. No, there has to be rational, objective reasons why your targets and stops go where they go, what the best ones do, what the worst ones do. Everything must be defined. And you'll realize that when you start defining your system, you're gonna get rid of a lot of the pressure that comes with being a trader, because once everything's defined, once everything is completely laid out as a blueprint, all that's left to do is execute. And if that's all that's on your plate is just to execute your game plan, the stress will be there, but it's not going to be the same as just winging it and hoping and praying, because that's what a lot of people do, and it just compounds that stress of the job. Another thing about it is, people go, well, how do you define your system? Here's a great tip. Take whatever it is you think you trade, your setup, okay? Go and find, you need to do back tests, right? Go and find a large sample set of everything that you think fits that setup, right? And not just ones that worked, but ones that failed also. So basically, you want to cast a wide net and capture a huge sample size. And then you need to start tracking all the data on it. You need to define every last piece of those setups. And what you need to do then is, the best way to do it is in Excel. I like when I do it in Excel. I know a lot of other guys do it in Excel. But what you need to do is go through and highlight the ones that were A+ and worked, and get them. What I do is I just highlight the rows, okay? And so once you highlight all the rows of the ones that work and went to targets and all the things you want to capture, then start sorting that Excel sheet by the different pieces of data that you've collected, and see if there's like certain pieces of criteria that when they're all the same, you start getting a lot of the winners. So basically, if you sort by, let's just say volume, okay? Like I know a lot of people track volume. So let's say you're a small cap trader and you want to long small caps that are gapping up in the morning on an early pullback or something like that, right? So you're going to capture all those setups, and you're going to highlight the ones that were great, that worked beautifully. And then what if you sort by volume and realize that the ones that had the volume that traded, a huge number over what the average volume was, somehow tended to be the ones that had more of the winners in it. Well, that tells you something about volume and what it means for your specific setup. Now you're starting to get definitions. Now you're starting to see, okay, well, if something doesn't have volume, it's not meeting that criteria, that could be an avoid. And I'm not saying volume's the answer. What I am saying is that is the approach you need to take to do that work in defining your system, because there's a lot of different pieces of data you can measure. There's range, there's volume, there's a million different data points, right? And listen, real quick, I'm gonna pull this up. Listen, I use this product, and I'm not paid to tell you about it or anything, but I really believe in this product, and that's Spike Heat, guys. And you can see I have a bunch of data. These are all things I've pulled. Spikeheat.com, SPIKEET.com. And it's what it does is allows you to collect data on whatever it is you want to collect it on and automate it, because data collection and defining your system is the real dirty granular work that nobody wants to ever talk about, but you have to do. And anything you can do to give yourself that edge and make it easier on yourself is a huge foot up on anybody else, right? And I'm telling you right now, doing it manually is very possible, but it takes way longer, and it's a pain in the ass. But again, the other option is to not do that and to just wing it, and I've already told you guys that won't result in a career. You guys need to define everything, black and white, have rules. And so that was really kind of what I wanted to touch on just in the intro part, guys. So let's move on to the disclaimer, and then we'll get into the actual ideas for the week. All right, guys? Neither I nor TrueTrader or any of its representatives, guys, are registered as security brokers dealers. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing that I talk about is a solicitation to buy or sell a stock. It's just my ideas, my opinions, the way I'm going to approach the week. Make sure you guys understand that trading's risky, and that, everything you hear today is just for entertainment purposes. So that is out of the way. Let's get into the ideas. Again, I told you, if you weren't here with me at the beginning, I wanted to just let everybody know that this will follow the same format as my typical Sunday preps. It's just live, okay? So we're going to start obviously with the broader market, which I always do. And here is the ES. We're going to full screen this. And again, I want to start on the higher time frames, guys. So monthly chart. Still extended. Actually, real fast, I wanted to give a huge shout out, because looking at the SPY just brought this back to me, and it made me remember how crazy Goose's midweek watch was last week. If you guys missed that, this is it right here, him talking about his idea on the SPY. He was literally saying, I think this dip is going to get bought up pretty quick. I want a deeper pullback, but I don't think I'm going to get it. And it was, it held kind of Thursday, and then Friday, and the NQ and the ES just absolutely ripped. Like, it went bananas. And if you guys aren't watching the midweek watch, I don't know what the hell you're doing. So I just wanted to put that out there, because Goose really, really impressed me last week with his. And hopefully mine will hopefully meet the standards set by my brother. So good work, Goose. Anyway, we're still extended, yes. But again, I'm nothing to worry about here. There's a lot of things that would have to happen for me to even think that we're going to head lower, especially after the way we closed out last week, and we'll see that right here. Kind of a doji on the week, on the weekly candle, but we all remember how the week ended on Friday with the ES and the NQ, and you're about to see it right here on the daily chart. This big green daily candle on Friday, and on higher than normal volume. Now the thing about it is we basically slammed right up into some resistance. You got the quarterly right here that we just pushed into, and then we have those recent highs from the last time we made the big push up. So we do have some resistance up there. You got your monthly pivot as well. So those are going to be the levels for me to watch for the sellers show up and we can't get through. There may be some short opportunities. On the down below, the weekly pivot from last week, obviously that's not going to be this pivot moving forward this week, but you can see it lines up really nicely with this little breakout area, which this was support here. We lost it. It ended up being resistance. Now we're back above it, and I'm thinking pullbacks to that is where I'm going to look for the buyers to show up again. And if it can't hold, it's not the end of the world. You still have levels below it. You got the 20-day right there, and there's going to be plenty of levels of support below. I'm not worried about us having any sort of a scary pullback at the moment. But again, I think things look great. There's going to be that short-term resistance just above. We'll see if we can get through it if we test it. If not, looking for pullbacks to hold, and there's going to be a lot of long setups in the Sunday prep this week, guys. So let's move on over to the NQ. The monthly is going to look pretty much the same as the S, same with the weekly. and the daily. I mean, they trade so correlated, guys. You have to understand the way these indexes work. They're weighted by the names that are part of that basket, and you know, the big boys are heavily weighted in both. So that's why you get a lot of the times where the charts move the same. It's just going to be the Nasdaq's more tech centered. Okay, so we held this trend line here. This was drawn last week. I didn't just put this here, so we can just extend it. Okay, and I think it's been it's been acting really well. Let's put it right there. Again, just like the ES, the NQ is also pushing right up into some recent resistance. You got the weekly and quarterly that it slammed into last week. It won't be the weekly starting Monday, but it'll probably be somewhere in this area. You have the monthly up there, which is going to put us right around 52-week highs. Again, I would assume first test of that, especially if we get up there in an emotional fashion, would end up being resistance. And we may get a short-term pullback if we slam up there. Pullbacks to this 16K level is going to be support for me. It's going to put us right into this trend line. It's also the psychological level, and you know, the 20 days caught up pretty much. We're almost there. If we come down to 15.9 by Monday or Tuesday, I think the 20 days should have crept up there by then. So, whoops, wrong. Didn't mean to do that. All right, so next is cryptos. Here's your Bitcoin chart. Again, this thing is still bullish. I don't see any reason why you would think this is some sort of a short, right? And the reason I point that out is because a lot of the crypto equities, the Riots, the Maras, the COINs, like Coinbase, you know, people think that they're getting overvalued or whatever, but the fact remains, if Bitcoin keeps going higher, those are going to keep going higher, and the valuations aren't really going to matter as much. Now, if things get extended, there's definitely shorts in those names. Like there's no way I wouldn't short Mara if it goes parabolic. But in my opinion, there's still a lot of upside left if we get pullbacks. If Mara, Riot, Bitcoin, all those things give pullbacks to levels, they're going to make, in my opinion, I think they're going to be good setups for longs. And you'll see when we get into the actual ideas. So that's the outlook on crypto. I mean, there's obvious support here where we have this pink line drawn. You have the 52-week highs, which we're back below. But again, if we zoom out, guys, and remember, like this thing, it wouldn't surprise me to see this thing blasting up here. Like this weekly chart, very bullish in my opinion. And even if we have deep pullbacks to like 53K, I'm not worried about the bull thesis yet. I still think it's intact. And that's kind of the important part, right? Is you get like a big pullback and a lot of people go, aha, I knew it. This thing is overvalued. We're going down. And it's not like that, guys. It's not like that at all. So that's crypto, and that's it for the broader market. And so now we're just going to do a quick sector analysis. Whoops. Let me go here and go to the sectors, short term. And guys, I'm freestyling a lot of this. Like I'm not going to sit here and try to prepare for these things. I'm going to do it live so you guys can see the thought process I have, right? So what I like to do when I come here and look at this short-term matrix, I like to see what closed the week strong and is continuing strong, or what was weak in a strong market. So consumer discretionary right off the bat has my attention. And why? Well, if you remember from the last few weeks, that ETF was crazy overvalued. It was parabolic. And we got the pullback. We're almost back to the 20-day now. So a lot of those names aren't as extended as they were. The move may have some sideways action, may start to base, and we may get ready for another leg up. So, you know, any ideas you had about this being overextended and needing to pull back, that's gone now. Let's go back to the sectors. Let's see, energy was weak and utilities were weak. Let's see, the strong ones, well, materials. And I don't typically trade a lot of the names in the materials sector. So that to me is more of a macro indicator than it is like an idea generator. You know, when you start seeing things like certain industries or sectors start getting strong while some of the ones that you want to see strong are weak, sometimes that can be an indicator of the macro environment. But again, if you look at the 1 month, you have a lot of names that have just been performing really, really strong lately. So again, I think you got the pullbacks in both energy and the consumer discretionary, and I think we also got the pullback in the market. Even though we didn't get down to the 20-day on the SPY and the Qs, I still think the pullback was enough that we shook out some of the people that chased the move up. Maybe packed the boat full of some shorts and maybe ready to push again. Wouldn't surprise me, but remember, I always make plans for every scenario, right? So there's the scenario we come lower. That's fine. Got long ideas. There's the scenario we push up and test recent resistance. That's fine. I got short ideas. There's also the scenario where we go sideways and digest the move and create a base. And I also know what to do in that situation. That's where I use my relative strength and relative weakness indicators to spot targets for if the market's basing for another push higher. What are the names that are also basing at strong levels of support and have been strong performers? Those are going to be names that when the market does make a move, I want to have as my go-to so I can get some positions put on for a possible move up again. So that's the sector analysis, and we're going to get into some ideas real quick now. I remember a few Sundays ago I touched on the importance of identifying themes. One of the themes we talked about was the EV sector, and it's still on fire, guys. I honestly think that even with Tesla having, let me go to, here's all the EV stock. Well, not all of them, but here's a good amount of them, right? I keep list. So even with Tesla having the big pullback to the 20-day on the news that Elon was selling, and he did, he liquidated not a lot in comparison to what he owns, but in comparison to what is typically sold on a position in this, he sold a lot, and the thing came in. But to me, now that news is no longer a catalyst, and this thing, that's all the move it gave back. Like, it got to the 20-day, but the expectations of going lower are completely gone, and it didn't kill the whole sector. The whole sector still looks extremely strong. So I actually think there's a lot of names in here that look great. Blink is the first one on my list, where they had earnings the other day. I think it was Friday, right? Gapped up on their earnings. And not profitable, but they have a ton of cash, and there's still that idea that this is where money flow is going to go, because these are the sectors that are going to change the way we do things, right? Like, EVs are not going anywhere. They're here to stay. And obviously these guys don't make cars, they make the chargers, okay? And you can argue all you want about the fundamentals of the company, but when a sector gets strength behind it, the people that are screaming at the top of their lungs that this company is a piece of shit are typically the ones that are going to get ran over, because their bias is not allowing them to just follow price. Now, we did shove right up into some levels, but the thing I like about Blink is that it really held well. Even though it was heavy early, it stuffed and came back in, I thought it held pretty well. Let me go into an intraday chart. Let's see here. This is a 2-hour one. Look at a little smaller of a time frame. Yeah, so I feel like, there's some levels that if this thing flushes a little bit down on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, that I may try to buy it for a quick bounce. If the money and the momentum is going to stay in the sector, this name, if this comes down, first area is going to be this quarterly where I like it. But the 200-day is right there at a monthly, and I feel like, 35s look pretty good. If this thing were to roll over, I think there's going to be a lot of money that's still here. It had a huge volume day on, let's see if I can try to use my hotkeys here to go through charts. That is the biggest volume day it's had on earnings numbers in a long time. You can see the last 3 quarters they reported, they did not trade the way it traded on Friday. So, if it rolls over and can't bounce, that's fine. But I always try to preach this, guy's risk management. I can give you guys ideas, but you have to have your own plan. I will probably be buying this on a dip to this quarterly pivot and trying to bounce it from there. And if it rolls over, I'm not riding it down to the next monthly pivot and trying it again at the 200-day. I will stop out and re-enter. That's just me personally, but you guys got to have your own plans and manage your own risk. The other naming here that I like is fuel cell, and trust me guys, I know as well as anyone that fuel cell is a giant turd. They are, but that chart, the volume's still there, and this chart is just curling. I feel like it's a magnet for these highs here, these 1260 area. So any weakness off the open, like if it gives an emotional flush, I want to scoop this with the chances that they do continue to buy this up, and this does float up to this 1260 area. And if we eventually break over 1260, this thing could get going. It really could speed up. It's not a tiny float by any means, and it's fundamentally it is a piece of shit, but the chart and the volume are saying that it still wants higher. And the one thing I will say is I'm going to make sure that I don't allow my bias in thinking it's a piece of shit to get me in front of this thing short early, right? So that's another thing that you should take away from these is maybe you don't agree with the long, but you can still use it as your red flag to possibly not short yet. Like hands off, let everybody fight it out and push it up, do all the heavy lifting for you, and then you guys can be the ones that walk in at the end and top it off. Lucid, that one still looks strong as well. You got this nice little, it's tightening up here. You see Friday was an inside day. You had the Rivian RIVN IPO. I think that was on Thursday, right? It was either Wednesday or Thursday. And I think there was a lot of, let's wait and see what happens with that before we move in either direction, right? Lower or higher. And so we still have yet to make a move. This inside day has me very interested. So you can see I have some alerts set on here. I have an alert down here at 40 because I would love to buy this on a flush down in those levels. But I also have an alert up here over Thursday's highs because I feel like over Thursday's highs and this thing's gonna go. Let's check out, here's the hourly. Yeah, so you can see what I see, or I'll tell you what I see right here on the hourly, and that is, we've had this pullback in the push up. This pullback here, I'm looking, if we break back over these highs, you kind of have this little higher low setup right here. You guys will, if you guys are in true trader, you hear me talk about this all the time. If you're not, probably like, what the hell is Ricky talking about? I'll just draw it for you. And so these are setups I really like. So these push up pullbacks, and when we break here, the first target is up here in the 49s. I feel like it's a 50 magnet if we get over 45, okay? So that's the idea on Lucid is we break over 45, I'm looking to buy dips and join trend. I am looking to buy this down here against this low also if it flushes hard. I would love to just buy it with defined risk, right? This is under Wednesday's low a day would be what I use the over under on if I buy the flush. And the last name on the EV sector for me, guys, is Nikola. And again, gigantic piece of shit. If you guys don't remember the Trevor Milton saga and the pushing the semi-truck down the hill to make it look like it was traveling under its own power, that is a rabbit hole you should definitely go down because you'll have a great time watching the clips on that. But Trevor Milton's gone. The volumes here, the sector has momentum, and this flag holding over the 200 day, I can't ignore that. So again, I've got the alert set over Wednesdays and Thursdays highs. I feel like over that, and we're probably going to 1550s, and over 1550s, this thing could get going. Again, guys, I know it's a piece of shit, but it's the sector momentum and the chart setups that we have here make it so if they start going, I want to participate. Okay, and remember, even Elon selling off Tesla couldn't kill the momentum in the sector, so that says a lot to me. The next thing I was going to talk about was just names that were strong last week. Okay, and the first one was Dash. They had earnings, and Twitter is full of people that are bashing this because of an unprofitable company acquiring another unprofitable company so they can be even more unprofitable. I've heard it all. Follow the price, guys. This thing is ripping on, came in, pushed up, and it's ripping. The price action on Friday was very, very strong. So I'm looking we have the quarterly. I think a retrace of the quarterly puts us right into Wednesdays and Thursdays highs. So that 234.50 is the quarterly, and that's like the first area I'm looking for on this. I should have just hit tab. Yeah, you can see that quarterly, and you also have 232. So that 232 to 234 range is kind of what I'm looking for. And I believe, where's the 2 hour? Yeah, so by the open on Monday, by the time the bell rings at 9:30, this 120-minute 20 should have caught up a bit too. And so it's just another piece of the puzzle that I use for Confluence. So I'm really interested in Dash on early weakness come Monday morning, guys. Another name from that list that was really strong on Friday was Airbnb, another one that reported earnings. And this is, to me, just a beautiful rip, pull back, hold, and go again. So basically, I'm thinking long term, this thing wants to take out these highs here over 211. So I'm looking to get on board that ship on any pullbacks where I can have risk under here, like under 190. So I'm looking 200 at first. If 200 doesn't want to hold, 194 is my area. But Airbnb, I'm looking to join trend on any weakness opening. And one of the things I'll point out about Airbnb was it Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. Right into the close, I was watching this. This thing was heavy as sin, and I couldn't figure out why. I thought there was news on it. I actually traded. I tried a little bounce play. I think I took half for a small profit, and I cut the last part when it was staying heavy. But I couldn't figure out why it was so heavy, and it really was even more of a head scratcher the next morning to wake up after seeing that super heavy close, and then just to watch it just rip. So, is what it is. You can't argue with that price action. This thing was crazy strong on Friday, so I want to make sure I have it on watch. The next idea is AGC. And this one, again, this was from a previous Sunday prep where we were talking about that 12 level and it held. And now we're up here. And, one of the notes I have written on this is that the early dips continue to get scooped. So you see 3 days in a row, right off the open, flush, bought back up. Flush, bought back up. Flush, bought back up. So I'm really interested to see what happens come Monday morning. Again, we'll have to wait to see if it's like gapping up or down, if we are opening flat. But I would be interested if this thing wants to flush down. You got these 3 pivots here. Obviously, the weekly won't be there starting Monday. It'll be a new weekly pivot, but you'll still have that monthly and that annual right there in that 1450 range. I'm wondering if they're going to flush it down again and buy it right back up. So I want to keep it on radar for that reason, because it's super thin. It starts going. The ask really thins up and it just starts to skip. But if you're in it, make sure somebody's also selling into those big pops. So make sure that you have some wish orders out there to sell some on the strength if you're buying that weakness and thinking they're going to buy it back up. Okay. Next name, let's see, is, there we go. Get back to my daily chart. Vuzi. God, I have a lot of shitty names on my list today, guys. Vuzi. This thing is a giant piece of shit, but look at this chart. Now, again, this is kind of a sector thing, right? Vuzi's involved in this new digital, like metaverse, for lack of a better term from me, right? Like Facebook is changing their name to Meta, and there's this whole NFT world, and there's this whole, like, it's almost like a new world that exists outside of the physical world, and Vuzi's involved in that, so they're part of that sector. And this thing had this big move up, came back. Obviously, it traded quite a bit of volume that second day, but then the volume just disappeared, and then we're back up here. So there's probably some shorts twisted on this. I'm looking to buy a dip on this. It may not give one, but if it does, I'm looking for these 1370s to 1350s. That chart just looks like it's gonna go. So I want to keep an eye on it in case it does. And again, I feel embarrassed to have names like Vuzi and Nikola and Fuel Cell on my watch for long ideas, but I want to make sure that if they're going to go, I have a piece, because I'd rather make money than look cool. QCOM is another name. Good earnings. I mean, this has just been ever since this big gap up's been really strong. It's been holding very well. So I'm thinking that this low here of 158 should hold. So I kind of want to dip by anything in the 160, risking that, because I do think, just like the was it the Airbnb idea? Let me look at the chart. Yeah, so the Airbnb idea, right, that we're eventually going over this 211, no different than QCOM. I feel like eventually this is going over this 169, 170 area, and so I want to get involved on a dip, so in case it goes there, I'm in from lower prices, so I don't have to get shook out by these intraday moves. If we can get a good piece on and let it work, there might be a bigger move involved here. And the last one from this little area is Roblox. Again, hopefully you guys notice the similarities between these looks, right? Airbnb, Dash kind of had that. Nah, Dash doesn't have that curl. But QCOM and Airbnb have that same look as Roblox. Big old gap up, the pullback, and then we're pushing again. So I'm thinking 100, that psychological levels where I want to get involved. You have the quarterly at 98.50, but Thursday's highs were right in that psychological level of 100. So if I'm gifted with a pullback to 100, I may have to just take that. Again, I'll probably wait for, if it flushes hard, I'll just wait for some sort of signal that the selling has exhausted and that the buyers are stepping in, and I'll put something on with some defined risk. Crypto names. Again, remember I told you guys Bitcoin still looks strong. Let's look at some of the crypto names. Riot's the one I like, okay? Riot's got this nice curl breaking over these highs. I feel like any dip into this 41 to 40 area is a good scoop area, especially if Bitcoin's going to continue higher. I like it actually a little bit better than Mara right now because Mara does have more of an extended look. But Mara is still a great trader. I've traded it almost daily for the last 2 weeks. It constantly pays. Just buy, like you'll see I have the alert set here. I want to be alerted if we flush into this 7150 pivot. And it would be even better if we come into the quarterly at 6850. But heading into this week, I do like Riot a little bit better just because of the daily chart. This one looks set up better. Looks like it's less extended. The market cap is about half of what Mara's is. But Riot is another one that's just, it's kind of embarrassing to have as a long idea, but guys, I'm going to sound like a broken record saying this. I'd rather make money. Here's another shitty one for you guys. BTBT. Daily chart looks very coiled up here. I like this daily candle from Friday. They tried to sell it off. We lost the 20-day, and then you just get this hammer close. I've got alerts set. You'll see anything over Thursday's highs I want to know about, so I can look to see if they start putting in some higher lows. I feel like over these highs at 1280s or whatever this is, sends it, and then the last level we got to clear is over this 1450. So it's a domino effect, right? Clear one level, see if we start to get some productive price action, see if you can get something on, see if it starts to work, and then see if more dominoes fall. That's the kind of idea with BTBT. That's it for the long ideas. Actually, you know what? I do kind of want to go over some FinViz stuff with you. I'll just do a quick screen with you guys real fast. So I have presets, right? The oversold reversion setup. So I use this for long ideas, right? And it's very simple. If you guys, I've done webinars on how I use FinViz. If you haven't seen them, I know everybody in TrueTrader has access to them. If not, maybe we'll throw these ones on the Method and Mindset website. But they're pretty simple, right? I just want stocks over 15 bucks that trade over 1.5 points of range and trade over 1 million shares. And sometimes I put this at over 2 million, right? I like volume. Liquidity matters. And then I just change the RSI to oversold and I see what's out there. It's very, very simple. But you guys have to understand, keeping things simple is usually the best way to go. You don't need to overcomplicate stuff. We're just trying to get a few names in front of us and go, okay, is there anything I like about that? The truth of the matter is not really. Not on any of these ones. I'm not a big... I told you guys last week where I want Chegg. It's not there yet. Piton, things just stayed heavy. Now, doesn't mean there's not a trade in Piton, Peloton, or as Adriano calls it, Python. But, I don't need to be trying to guess whether or not this thing's ready or not. Simple enough is just to watch for some higher lows and a break, right? So here's your 120-minute chart. Let's just draw it out real quick so you guys can see what I would be kind of looking at here. Oops. Here's your low. There's your high. And you don't have to use that one since it was after hours if you don't like after hours stuff. But there's still this high too you can use. And what I would do, I'd probably use this high. I'll tell you why, because it lines up with these highs here. So what I'm thinking is over this is your trigger. So I just set an alert, guys, and I don't need to guess when this thing's ready. So now I have an alert set. I'm not trying to find a bottom on Piton, but if they start putting in higher lows and higher highs and it starts turning and the volume comes in, just know this thing can move 4, 5, 6, 7 points in a single trading session. So we get that. Look for some higher lows and some risks to set. But again, nothing on this screen really screams at me this week. So let's get into the short ideas. I don't have a lot of short ideas, guys. The market looks strong to me. Pinterest is the first one, and the idea on Pinterest is a pop into the 20-day for a fade. It's going to put us, and I believe this might have even been the same idea from last Sunday, but it's that psychological 50 level at 50.48. You have your annual pivot, the 20 days up there, and it's just been a weak stock. So that's the idea on Pinterest. Spike into the 20-day, look for a fade. The other one is Pen, and it's the same idea, kind of pop into this annual pivot 63 area. I believe it was you can see it much clearer here on this 120-minute chart. Slam up into these levels that already proved to be really strong resistance, and I think you get a 1 to 2 point fade on a quick spike up into that level. So that's the short ideas for weak stocks looking for continuation. But again, let's go to the screener and look. Now it's the exact same screen we just did, right, for the oversold. So all I do is change the RSI to, you can start at 90 and see if there's anything. A lot of times there's not, because it's hard to, something's got to be pretty extreme to get up to 90. So nothing there, go to 80. Take a look, anything you like. I already looked earlier, guys. I'll go over 2 names. Neither of them are ready yet, in my opinion. Well, actually, let's just do STX first. Make sure, click on the right one, because it's not the crypto we're talking about. So this was actually a trade from Friday. So the reason why it's not going to make the list for me this week, I mean, I'll still watch it. Any shove back up into these 114s, possibly, but it already kind of made the pullback. And you can see it was trending up this 120-minute 20, and it just went para. And, it was a huge trade that I just missed the top on because it didn't get up to me at 1750. I was waiting. It is what it is. Missed trades, not the end of the world. It's much, much better to wish you were in a trade than wish you weren't, guys. So that was STX. Again, any pop into 114 maybe with risk over those recent highs. You kind of got to wait and see what kind of strength it's going to have. It doesn't typically trade huge volume, right? Like average volume's 2.8 million. It's enough. But it traded way more than that on Friday. And it was going with WDC. So you have to understand that sometimes these things move in tandem with other names from their peer group. The other one from that list was you, right? And we are extended from the 120-minute 20. But what I'll point out about you is this day we had on Wednesday. It started way down here at the 20-day and went straight back up. So like we've already had the pullback. So in order for me to want to trade you, I need higher. I need probably 220. If we get 220, it's going to start looking extreme again, and I'll get involved. But it's a strong stock. Look at the volume that's coming in on it, and it's just breaking over the all-time highs with some follow-through. I'd much rather let this thing extend. I don't need to find the top, and then get involved when there's the inability for it to go any higher when you start seeing those lower highs on the time frame it's extended on, right? So like I just pointed out, we are currently extended on the 120-minute time frame, but like let's start looking in. So we're extended on the 1 hour. Not really. By the time we open on Monday, the 30 will have caught up. The hourly will probably have caught up quite a bit. So we need to get some separation. The more we get separation, the lower the time frames we get sped up on, then I can start looking for high risk reward opportunity. So that's all the ideas for this prep. But because it's alive, I wanted to interact, and so hopefully we can answer some questions for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and kind of scroll through some of the comments and see if anything kind of jumps out. SNDL. So, okay, that makes me think about the pot sector because I had noticed that Oh man, Slack is making all kinds of pop-up notification sounds. And I don't know how to do that on the fly to shut Slack up. But SNDL, I have no reason at all to want to be long this name. This thing is, what's the float on this? It's like over 1 billion shares or something. It's no reason to be involved, but that doesn't mean that the pot stocks aren't starting to look good, and they are. You can see this curl. You can see how Tilray kind of made new highs here. So keep an eye on the sector. The sector itself, I do like. So thank you for bringing up SNDL. But again, I don't want any part of SNDL, but I love the sector. You'll see the volume starting to come in. You see some of these charts starting to really set up. So yeah, they definitely should be on your list, guys. And if you don't, you should have a list of all the pot stocks the same way I had the EVs, right? So here's your pot sector. And I got to actually add a bunch of names here because there's new ones, right? But these are like the main ones I trade, the CGCs, the crons. Actually, yeah, this CGC chart looks nice. You guys see the volume coming in and we're breaking. So thank you for pointing out SNDL, mostly because it brought up the thought on that whole sector, right? So let's see here. Trying to see what it was on. All right, here's my trusty guys with their questions. Is that mean reversion sort of bounce trade? Ricky's A+. I'm not sure what that means. How many lines are on this chart? So those are pivots, guys. The blues are the monthlies, and so I only have 2 months back showing. The yellows are the quarterlies. I only have 1 showing, 1 quarter back, and the whites are the annuals. So if you don't understand pivots, they are just math formulas, but they're very powerful. If you guys aren't part of True Trader, you should pop on over there and see what we do with them because they're very powerful. I'm going to keep on going through these questions. Airbnb is selling. Not sure what that question means. Let's see. That was from Samuel Romero. Airbnb is selling. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm actually looking to get long that name if you weren't quite sure what my idea was on it. Thoughts on OXBL from Francis. Let's look. I've never even heard of this name. And it's not a good sign when it's not pulling up. Did I type it right? I'm not seeing that ticker. So sorry, guys. Yeah, HUT is another one. Let's see. Joanne is asking HUT on crypto. Yes, HUT is a crypto-related stock, and it does look like we have a bit of a flag going up there. What I would look for is kind of just a flag break. You can draw it yourself, guys, and you'll see the same thing, just this little area here. But if it breaks above it, what I'd like to see is the pullback start to hold, because you can see it's made a few of these pushes, and then when the pullback comes, it doesn't hold and it just rolls back over. So I like the name, I like the space, but again, I'd like to see that break and then hold the pullback. So let's see here. Are these scans generally both swing and intraday ideas? No. Most of the ideas I give you guys on the Sunday prep are for Monday, Tuesday, early in the week, intraday trades. I typically will say if it's a swing idea, or what I do is if I like it for a swing, I take it as a day trade with enough size that I can leave a piece if it closes strong and I have that profit, that padding, to leave a piece on for the actual swing idea. So that's the ideas are mostly intraday day trades. Can you go over pins, please? Am stuck in it at 49, full size on margin, about to lose my shirt. Pins, Neos, Baba. Let's see. Let's look at pins. So obviously you're long because it's trading below there and you're upside down in the trade. Again, like I'm looking to fade it if we pop back up there. And like that, so if you look at pins, the reason I want it is probably the same reason you're in it from where you're at, right? Look at where it broke down, and that's where you have everybody trapped. Everybody's, and there's people trapped up here too. Look at this giant volume day from the day that the rumor came out that PayPal was going to buy them, right? That was a lot of volume, and then it sold off, and then gap down huge, right? So a lot of people got stuck up there. So the fact that you're stuck from at least down here is a lot better than some people. But any pop back into that area, in my opinion, for me, is going to be a short. So if you're in there, I can't advise you financially, guys, on your trades, but I'm hoping that you get the pop you need to get out. What I will say is this: a lot of traders get themselves in these really tough positions, and then the price comes back to where they can get out for either a small loss or break even, or even a small profit. And instead, they forget about all the pain they were just in, and their greed kicks in, and they go, "I'm going to hold. This is going to go for a big win," and then it rolls over, and they get stuck in it again, and they miss their opportunity. Make a promise to yourself right now about what you're going to do if it goes back to that price. It doesn't mean you have to say, "I'll sell for break even," but whatever promise you make yourself right now, you honor it and you keep it if and when that happens. And this is not about this trade. This is about discipline and what that means for you actually having a shot at a career. Discipline pays in the future. Greed and fear and breaking rules might pay right this minute, might pay in this trade, but they will cost you your career down the road. Okay, so hopefully this works out for you. I'm sorry to hear that you're stuck in pins. I hope it works out for you. Let's see. Does anyone know why space dropped? It was at 2130, then dropped after sharp to 19, but not sure why. I had a 10 call at 2500, now worth 1,000. My break even used to be 22, now shows 20. I mean, space is just one of those names, man, where that's a tough sector, okay? Space travel, and trying to convince people that this is going to be a business model that's going to work, or if it's just a novel idea. And the fact they've got now they're starting to have competitors in the space, right? You've got, I think it's Blue Origin is the Bezos funded venture into there. You got SpaceX, and you got Virgin Galactic, right? And there's probably more coming. And this is very, very speculative. So when people in True Trader ask me, like, why'd space drop? More sellers than buyers, dude. That's the only answer I can ever give somebody where I know that I'm not bullshitting them, right? And that's anybody that tells you they know for a fact why something dropped, oftentimes it's just blowing smoke up your ass. Let's see. OXBR. That's what they meant to type. Okay, OXBR. So what I love the chart on OXBR, but there's no volume. This thing it trades, it traded 4 million on Friday, but it's still averaging less than 1 million shares a day. I think you could set an alert over this 375 area, and if the volume comes in, maybe there's a trade. But you would have, honestly, when it comes to something like that, I like to, oh, that's the wrong website, sorry. I like to actually look at the filings, because I know OXBR is a piece of shit. And so they haven't done a raise in a while. Let's see what their cash situation's like real quick. And if you guys don't, you guys can use Flash. This is a kind of neat product I use as well, and this gives you a quick one over, right? So here's so they don't have a shelf, so at least they can't raise on you. They haven't been diluting. At least there's none of those red flags, right? So like, I like to know that before I start going into a company blindly, especially these small caps. But again, there's just not enough liquidity in OXBR for me to care. But I set the alert. I appreciate bringing it to my attention, because if it gets over that level, the assumption has to be that that is an important level and will bring volume, right? So if the volume starts coming in, it may set up for a nice day trade. We'll see. So that's kind of the idea on OXBR if you ask me. Any comments on HUT? I already did that one. Let's see. Trying to read these guys, sorry. Thoughts on NVIDIA going into earnings Wednesday. Oh, you know what? Hey, Margaret. Thank you for reminding me. I wanted to point out at least quickly the earnings names too, guys. I'm not going to give you my thoughts on all the earnings or whatever, but it's a very important week of earnings. And one of the reasons is we just talked about the EV sector. Lucid reports Monday after the bell. So make sure, here's my thoughts. Monday, tomorrow, if Lucid has like a big sell-off off the open, I feel like they probably at least save it just heading into the numbers. But I wouldn't be carrying any position into the numbers at all. And then we'll see what happens when they come out. If they're great, or if the market treats it favorably, then we may have even more follow through in that whole EV sector. The other thing pointing out is that this is like the big names in the China sector report all week, right? You got Baba, Baidu, Bilibili, they're all in here, right? So like this week is all the big Chinese names report. So that was something I wanted to point out. And yes, Nvidia is in here and AMD as well, I believe, right? They usually report back to back. Is AMD this week, or did they move it? Or did AMD already report? Let's see, I would have to look over here in my trusty earnings whispers page. Yeah, they reported already October 26th. I don't know why, for some reason, maybe they used to report back to back, but Nvidia is Wednesday after the close. And my thoughts on it, my thoughts on Nvidia is just, it's been super strong. You got this, it's kind of just building a bit of a flag up here. We are still extended, and the market cap's pretty frothy, but with I see AMD reported. With the numbers coming, this could have another leg up. So it's not something I would be getting in front of, and I would not be carrying anything into the earnings. Let's see here, space. When I'm looking to go long and say on a trend line break, do you scale into a position or just go in heavy all at once? So that a lot of that depends, okay? For me, my first entry, I like it to be, if I have some conviction and I see what I need to see, I like it to be a bit more size than my ads, right? So I don't want to put a tiny position on, and then every time I add, my ads are so big that it really brings my cost basis up. I'd rather see a break, buy a dip with some decent size, and just know where my risk is, right? So you have to, one, just be okay with the risk. Accept it. Put it on, and if it starts to work, now when you add, your ads don't really screw up your because that's why most people have this mental block with adding, because they're like, my cost basis. Screw your cost basis. Now, if that is you, if you get so worried about adding because your cost basis, then start with a bit of a bigger position and have your ads be smaller. But adding as it's working is the hardest thing you can do, but it's the best. Think about how many times you've added to a loser, and then when you end up stopping out, you wonder how the hell did your loss get so big. Imagine if that was happening to you in reverse. Imagine that if you're just adding the whole time, it's going in your favor, and by the time you stop out, meaning exit for a profit, you go, holy shit, I can't believe how big my win is. It's and remember, guys, trading goes against your instincts. So the fact that it's hard to add to a winner should tell you everything about it. Okay, it tells you that's the right way to do it, because it's hard. It's easy to add to a loser because it avoids taking the loss at the moment, and it's obviously the wrong thing to do. Okay. Let's see if there's another question in here. Sorry. I feel like there's probably a better way to do these questions, but remember, it's the first time doing it live. Also, do you sell some into strength and move your stop, mental or actual, to your entry to have a free trade look, or a free look trade? No, I hate break-even stops, guys. Now, I do sell into strength, okay? I sell into strength. I may add back on a dip, but my stop still has to be rational. Break-even's not rational. I may set my stop in the profit. It doesn't mean that like I'm not, but my stop loss has to be for a reason, not just that's my cost basis, right? Like if the stock is still behaving well, like for long, if it's still making higher lows and higher highs, well, that nothing changes about that unless you start getting lower highs and lower lows, at which point you might stop out just up there and protect all of your profit. You know, you have to have that plan, but I don't like break-even stops because break-even to me is arbitrary. Like the stock, nothing matters about your cost basis to the stock or to anybody else in the market. It's just to you and your ego, right? So That's why I don't like. And another thing I don't typically like to see people do is a stock starts to move in their favor and they sell enough of it so that if they stop out, it's a break-even trade, or they call it a free trade, but nothing's ever free. Because what happens is if it goes to your target, now you don't have the full win you should have had. And your system should be designed around a certain risk and a certain reward and a certain win rate. And if you start tinkering with that, you're messing up your whole system, and your results are not going to be indicative of your actual strategy. So if your strategy says that you buy a stock when it does X and you sell it when it goes to Y and you stop out when it goes to Z, but you start messing with that formula, you're not going to have the results that you should. You won't have the expectancy that system is set up to provide you. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Oh, I think that's it for the questions, or at least I think they said I'm caught up on them. Yeah, so guys, just remember like the main points from the beginning, right? Set yourself up for success in the morning by getting in the mindset of gratefulness. Be positive, be thankful, prevent all that negative external thoughts from messing up your game plan or even being involved in your life. Get a routine. That's a huge one, guys. Make sure every morning starts out with a routine. They really, really help. And make sure your routine includes the night before. Also, define your system, black and white. Define every part of it, every aspect. It's going to get rid of a lot of the stress that comes with not knowing. Like we were talking about this on Method and Mindset on last Thursday, was like, people always say like, be patient for your entries, be patient for your targets. But somebody that hasn't defined their system goes, God, I don't know what those are. So how can you be patient for something if you don't know what it is you're being patient for? So hopefully you guys got some value from this Sunday's prep. I actually enjoyed doing this live. It was fun. And I will see you guys all bright and early tomorrow morning to attack the market. Everybody stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and go Chiefs.